Did you know that nearly 80% of the thoughts you think today are the same ones you felt yesterday? And most of them aren't true. Now, here's the real shocker. The average person has over 60,000 thoughts a day, but more than 90% of them are completely useless. So here's the question. If most of your thoughts are unhelpful, why are they still controlling your life? Why do we let a chaotic, repeating mind tell us what to chase, what to fear, and what we're worth? You've probably felt it. That moment when you got what you worked so hard for and still felt empty. That sinking feeling when everything outside looks okay, but inside something's missing. What if the problem isn't that you haven't achieved enough, but that you've been searching in the wrong direction? There's a way of living rooted in Zen wisdom and tested through suffering that says you don't need more, you need less. Not less ambition, but less attachment. Not less action, but less confusion. And the best part? This truth isn't hiding in a temple or a mountain. It's already inside you, covered but never lost. Let's uncover it together, starting right now. 1. The mind is not you. Why inner conflict keeps you stuck. What if the voice inside your head isn't you? And what if most of your suffering isn't caused by life, but by believing every single thought your mind creates? A Zen saying goes, the mind is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. And yet, most of us let the mind run the show. It whispers doubts, replays mistakes, predicts disasters, and we obey without question. Not because we're weak, but because no one ever told us. You don't have to believe everything you think. I remember one evening, many years ago, sitting alone with a storm of thoughts in my head. Regret a conversation I had 2 days before. Anxiety about money. Guilt about not calling someone back. My body was still, but inside it felt like I was being dragged in 100 directions at once. And then a thought arose. Not one I clung to, but one that stopped everything. Who's watching all of this? It was the first crack, the first realization that maybe I wasn't the storm, I was the sky it passed through. Most people wake up and are instantly pulled into their mind's drama. I'm late. I look terrible. They don't care about me. These thoughts become the lens through which we live. But the truth is, they're just electrical impulses, echoes, patterns. They're not the essence of who we are. And yet these same patterns shape our energy. When you believe you're unworthy, anxious, or behind in life, your body tenses, your breathing shortens. You begin to attract situations that mirror that internal vibration. Not because the world is punishing you, but because it's responding to your frequency. You think, feel, and then life echoes. But here's the twist. The more we identify with these thoughts, the more they control us. And paradoxically, the harder we try to stop them, the louder they become. That's the trap. Zen doesn't ask you to silence your thoughts. It asks you to see through them. You don't have to wrestle your mind to the ground. You just have to notice it and let it pass, like watching leaves float on a river. You don't jump in to catch each one. You sit on the bank, you watch, you breathe. Science tells us the brain is a survival machine. It looks for threats, it solves problems, but it's not wired for peace, it's wired for control. That's why most of us are living while bracing for something to go wrong. And we wonder why our shoulders are tight, why we're tired even after sleeping, why joy feels like a distant concept instead of a daily experience. Peace begins the moment you stop arguing with your thoughts, not by erasing them, but by realizing they are not you. The moment you say, there's that old fear again, instead of I am afraid, something shifts. That space between awareness and thought, that's where your freedom begins. The mind is loud, but the presence is quiet. And yet presence is stronger, not in volume, but in depth. The mind screams, the soul whispers. So the question becomes, who are you listening to every day? You don't need to escape your thoughts. You need to come home to the part of you that was never lost in them. You've probably experienced it without realizing it. That feeling when you're walking in nature and everything just slows, or when you're doing something you love and hours pass like minutes. That's not the mind leading. That's you, pure awareness, finally taking the wheel. We spend so much of our lives being pulled away from ourselves. But what if you could gently pull yourself back, breath by breath, moment by moment? And it starts simply. When the mind says you're not enough, ask, according to who? When the mind says this will never work, smile and say, noted. When the mind spirals, you breathe deeper, slower. You take your seat back, because the mind may be part of you, but it is not all of you. And if you don't remember that, it will gladly run the entire show, uninvited. But here's the deeper layer. If the mind is not your master, then what is? What gives your life rhythm, clarity, and quiet strength, even on the hardest days? Let's talk about a surprising truth: how discipline, not desire, might be the key to your real freedom. 2. Real freedom is structure, discipline that sets you free. What if the freedom you crave is hiding in the very thing you've been trying to escape? Routine, discipline, and structure. Let me tell you something that took me years to understand. True freedom doesn't mean doing whatever you want, whenever you want. That kind of freedom usually leads to exhaustion, addiction, and confusion. I used to think freedom was spontaneity. I believed I was most alive when my life was unplanned, wide open. But the truth was, I was drowning in my own choices. I had no anchor, and I mistook the endless buffet of options for peace. It wasn't. It was just noise dressed up as freedom. In Zen, freedom begins when the mind quiets. And ironically, the mind becomes quiet not through indulgence, but through rhythm. Structure, when chosen wisely, is not a prison. It's a path. A structure tells the body, you are safe. It tells the mind, you can rest. And it tells the spirit, now you are free to go deeper. There's something strangely comforting about knowing what comes next. Waking up at the same time, eating your meals on a rhythm, moving your body at the same time each day. It may sound boring, but boredom, as I've come to see it, is often the threshold to depth. And here's the twist. Discipline doesn't take away your spontaneity. It makes it more meaningful. Because when your mind is clear, you can choose what matters. Most people think they're making choices, but really they're reacting. Reacting to urges, cravings, fatigue, and distraction. And the more reactive you are, the more enslaved you become to your habits, your moods, your impulses. Freedom is saying, yes, I feel like eating, but I will wait. Freedom is hearing the mind scream, I'm bored, and still sitting down to meditate. Freedom is being able to delay, not because you're punishing yourself, but because you're training yourself. I remember a phase in my life when I was trying to change my eating habits. I decided to eat only at 3 specific times a day: 8 a.m., 1 p.m., and 6 p.m. Simple. But those first 2 weeks, torture. My mind complained nonstop. But you're hungry now. Just one snack. You'll be happier if you eat. The old me would have listened. But this time I didn't. I waited, I breathed, I drank water, I smiled through the tension, and something happened. One morning I woke up, and I wasn't hungry. I didn't even think about food. I felt free. Discipline, real discipline, isn't about force. It's about clarity. It's about deciding once and then honoring that decision with your daily actions. And here's the beautiful part. Once a rhythm becomes embodied, it no longer feels like discipline. It becomes natural. You no longer have to, you want to. From a biological perspective, our nervous systems love predictability. Our hormones balance better when meals and sleep happen consistently. Our focus sharpens when our bodies trust that rest and nourishment are coming. So what feels restrictive at first sets you free later. Energetically, when your actions align with your intention, you vibrate differently. You become congruent. You move with quiet power. The universe responds not to what you want in the moment, but to what you honor over time. Discipline, then, is a kind of spiritual declaration. It says, I'm not ruled by impulse. I choose my life. And there's nothing more liberating than that. Of course, I'm not saying you have to turn your life into a monk's schedule. You don't need to live in a monastery or eat the same soup every day. But you do need something, a rhythm, a framework, a quiet agreement with yourself that brings steadiness to the chaos. Without it, you'll always be reacting, always reaching, always wonder why peace feels so far away. Discipline is not about making your life smaller. It's about making your presence bigger. And once you've experienced that kind of presence, the kind that isn't distracted by every notification, every craving, every shiny thought, you'll never want to go back. But what happens when life breaks your rhythm? When something crashes into your order and leaves only pain behind? In the next part, we explore the one doorway that suffering always opens, if you dare to step through it. 3. Face the darkness. Pain is the doorway to growth. What if the pain you're running from is the teacher you've been waiting for? Let's be honest, pain isn't something we like to talk about. Most people either avoid it, suppress it, or sugarcoat it with toxic positivity. Stay strong. Just move on. Everything happens for a reason. You've heard it, right? But let's go deeper. Pain, in its rawest form, is truth with a loud voice. It shows up uninvited, kicks down the door of our illusions, and says, time to grow. Years ago, I went through the kind of heartbreak that leaves a physical ache in your chest. You know that feeling, like a sharp wind has hollowed out your ribs. I tried all the usual things: distraction, work, even spiritual bypassing. But the grief followed me like a shadow, until one day I just sat with it. No more resisting, no more fighting. I lit a candle, closed my eyes, and said, okay, I'm here. Show me. What came wasn't comfort, it was clarity. I realized I wasn't just mourning a person, I was mourning who I thought I was when I was with them. That's when I understood. Pain peels away everything that isn't truly you. In Zen, they call this kensho, the sudden glimpse into your true nature, often triggered by intense suffering. The irony? We spend so much energy trying to avoid discomfort when discomfort is the very door to awakening. A cracked heart is an open heart. Here's something strange but true. The nervous system processes emotional pain and physical pain in similar ways. That's why a broken heart can hurt like a physical wound. And just like with a broken bone, healing emotional wounds requires presence, not avoidance. You don't heal a fracture by pretending it's not there. You set it, you rest. You allow the body's natural intelligence to mend. Emotionally, it's the same. Pain isn't there to destroy you. It's there to direct you. It's the body's way of saying, pay attention here, something matters. But here comes a twist. Most people think pain is the enemy. It's not. Resistance is. When you tense up, deny, become numb, or lash out, the pain stays stuck. It recycles. It becomes bitter. But if you soften into the experience, if you breathe through it and allow it to be seen, something shifts. The pain starts to teach. It becomes compost for growth. And yes, I know, it's scary to face the darkness, to look into the places you've locked away, but there's a strange light inside the dark, waiting for you. Like a seed buried deep in the soil, your strength grows in that unseen place. There's a reason why so many breakthroughs come after breakdowns. Why do people change only after the storm? Because until we're cracked open, we don't let the truth in. Pain forces stillness, and in stillness, we remember. This is where the law of attraction quietly comes in, not as a wishful thinking tool, but as a mirror. If you constantly avoid pain, you'll attract situations that reflect your resistance. But if you face pain with compassion, you begin to radiate strength, wisdom, and resilience. And the world responds in kind. Let me lighten the mood for a second, because all this talk of pain can feel heavy. You know, if pain were a character in a movie, I imagine it as that grumpy old teacher, strict, scary, but secretly rooting for you. And the final exam? It's always emotional honesty. Also, let's not forget, the heart, just like muscles, grows stronger when it's stretched. So yes, that ache you feel, it's the stretch. It's you becoming more of who you were, always meant to be. If you're listening to this and thinking, I'm not ready to face that yet, that's okay. It doesn't have to be all at once. Start small. Journal one truth that hurts. Say one sentence you've been holding in. Cry when the tears come, or simply breathe deeper when you feel tight. Little by little, you will build a home inside yourself where pain can visit, but not stay. And here's my personal belief. If I may share it from the heart, pain is proof that you're still open to life. It means you care. It means you haven't gone numb. And that, my friend, is a kind of sacred strength the world desperately needs more of. But pain, once embraced, doesn't leave you where it found you. It changes your vibration. It changes your story. In the next part, we'll explore how suffering, once transmuted, becomes the fuel that magnetizes everything you've ever longed for. 4. You are already enough. Detaching from the illusion of lack. Ever noticed how getting what you want never really satisfies you for long? A new car, a better body, a bigger paycheck, and still something's missing. What if the void you're trying to fill was never real to begin with? There's a whisper in our modern world that keeps getting louder. You are not enough. It's hidden in advertisements, wrapped in filters on social media, and echoed in silent comparisons. And soon we start believing that our worth lies somewhere just out of reach. One more success away, one more relationship away, one more upgrade away. But the truth is simpler and quieter. You were already enough the moment you were born. Let's zoom in on something familiar. The upgrade loop. You get a new phone. It's sleek, fast, exciting. 2 months later, another version is released, and suddenly your phone feels old. Now apply this to jobs, partners, and even your body image. Always chasing the next version. The illusion is, when I get that, I'll be happy. But the mind's hunger has no finish line, because it's not hunger for things, it's hunger for wholeness, and that can't be bought. In Zen, there's a saying, you are not lacking, you only believe you are. The core of suffering is this belief in deficiency. But if you sit quietly with it, if you observe this craving, you begin to see something wild, that the emptiness is created by the mind's resistance to the present. It's not that life is incomplete, it's that we keep measuring it through lenses that distort its perfection. And here's where something interesting happens inside us. When we think we are lacking, we radiate that frequency, subtle but powerful. We attract situations that mirror our doubt, relationships where we feel unseen, jobs where we're undervalued, and bodies we criticize. But when we remember our completeness, we become like a still pond, reflecting beauty, depth, and calm. People feel that. The universe feels that. Let me tell you a quick story. I once mentored a woman in her 50s, brilliant, kind, creative, but she carried this deep sense of not good enough, rooted in childhood. Every time she achieved something, she downplayed it. Every time someone praised her, she deflected. One day after a guided meditation, she looked at me and said, "I finally saw it. I've been holding a measuring stick I didn't even create." That's the illusion, when we borrow standards that were never ours and use them to judge our worth. Psychologically, this creates a loop. The more we chase validation, the more we reinforce the belief that we don't have it. It's like trying to quench thirst by drinking salt water. The solution isn't more effort. It's letting go of the belief that you're broken. You don't need to earn your right to exist. You are already here. That's the miracle. And just so we're clear, this doesn't mean you stop growing. It means you grow from wholeness, not from wounding, from joy, not fear. When you approach life from a place of inner sufficiency, everything shifts. You stop begging for love and start radiating it. You stop chasing time and start being present in it. Now I get it. All of this can sound lofty, especially if you're in the thick of self-doubt or financial stress or a midlife identity shakeup. But just try this. Put your hand on your heart and say, "Right now, I am enough." Not because you've achieved something, but because you are alive. Because this breath is yours. Okay, let's lighten the mood for a second. I once tried a 30-day affirmation challenge. Day 1, I am abundant. Day 2, I am radiant. Day 3, I am hungry. Turns out even self-worth needs snacks. But in all seriousness, the moment I stopped saying affirmations to fix myself and started saying them to celebrate myself, everything changed. It wasn't about becoming someone else. It was about returning to who I already was. Here's a powerful metaphor. Imagine your soul as the sky. Sometimes clouds pass by, doubt, fear, insecurity, but the sky itself is never broken. It's vast, whole, unaffected. You are that sky. Your self-worth was never gone. It was just covered for a while. So what happens when you stop chasing and start remembering? In the next part, we'll explore the quiet miracle that unfolds when you live from enoughness, and how that magnetizes peace, purpose, and a body that begins to heal from the inside out. 5. Harmony begins within, balancing expectation and reality. What if you're not suffering because life is hard, but because it's not matching the story you thought it would be? Let's start with a small question that carries a deep weight. Where in your life right now are you resisting what is? Not what should be, not what you wish it was, just what is. This is one of the most powerful turning points in any healing journey. Not the day you fix something, but the day you stop fighting it. See, we tend to believe that peace will arrive the moment life bends to our expectations, when our partner finally changes, when the job becomes fulfilling, when the past makes sense. But Zen offers a different truth. Peace isn't something life gives you. Peace is something you stop pushing away. I remember an older man I met during a retreat in the mountains. He was in his 70s, quiet, kind-eyed. He had lost his wife years ago, his son lived far away, and he had a painful knee condition that made walking slow. But every morning he sat by the window, smiling with his tea. When I asked him how he managed to stay so peaceful, he said, "At some point, I stopped waiting for the storm to pass and started listening to the rain." That's the kind of harmony we're talking about. Not a harmony that waits for life to become perfect, but a harmony that comes from no longer demanding it be anything other than what it is. Now here's a twist that might surprise you. The more we try to control the uncontrollable, the more disoriented we become. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. It slips through, and you're left exhausted. But when you cup your hands softly, the water stays. Harmony is like that. It's not forceful, it's receptive. Scientifically, the brain doesn't like unpredictability. It builds mental models to feel in control. So when reality doesn't match those inner blueprints, we feel stress, anxiety, or even anger. But instead of adjusting the blueprint, we often demand that reality change, and that's when suffering creeps in. Psychologically, this gap between expectation and reality creates what some call cognitive dissonance. It feels like friction inside the mind. And if left unresolved, that friction becomes fatigue, emotional burnout, even illness. But there's another way, not by erasing your expectations, but by softening them. Let me give you a playful example. One morning, I planned to have this perfect, peaceful day. Light a candle, journal, sip tea, write poetry. Instead, I spilled the tea, my internet crashed, and my neighbor decided to do construction. Not exactly a Zen paradise, but instead of spiraling, I laughed. I adjusted. I wrote my poetry between jackhammer intervals. And honestly, it was one of the most present days I've had in months. That's the shift, from rigid control to flexible alignment, from expectation to acceptance. You're not giving up on your dreams, you're just not letting them dictate your inner weather. When your expectations constantly fight reality, your nervous system lives in conflict. But when your thoughts, feelings, and actions begin to align with what's truly unfolding, your body softens, your breath deepens, you feel more at home, in yourself. Here's the energy part. When you're in resistance, you're signaling scarcity, lack, and not enough. But when you begin to say yes to the moment, even if it's messy, imperfect, or slower than you hoped, you radiate coherence. And life responds to that with surprising grace. Now, I'm not saying you should become a doormat to life. Number Zen isn't passive, but it is clear-eyed. It sees things as they are, not through the fog of should have or why me. Let's use a metaphor. Life is like a river. Sometimes it flows calmly, sometimes it floods, sometimes it barely moves. You can thrash and scream and demand the river go faster, or you can learn how to float. Floating doesn't mean doing nothing. It means letting go of the fight. If you've been struggling lately, feeling like life is off track, or that nothing is going as planned, I invite you to ask, am I reacting to life, or am I responding to what's here? Because when your inner world finds balance, your outer world doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be real. If there's one thing I hope you take away from this video, it's this. You were never broken. You were never missing anything. You've just been listening to the wrong voice. We've explored the truth that your mind is not your master, that discipline can set you free, that pain, when faced, becomes power, that you are already enough, and that peace begins the moment you stop fighting with reality. These aren't just ideas, they are doorways, and the key to each one is stillness. So I invite you, today, not tomorrow, to choose one small thing, one key takeaway from this video. Write it down, sit with it, practice it, not to become perfect, but to become present. And if something touched you deeply or helped you see yourself more clearly, share it below. I read every comment. Your story could be the light someone else needs. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel for more gentle truths like this. And if you think someone you love needs this message, share it. Healing spreads heart to heart, because freedom isn't a place we arrive. It's a way we choose to walk together. Thank you for walking this path with me. Until next time, may you breathe deeply and remember who you are.